And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to each and every one of you to another in this series of webinars. In today's, what is now turning into a marathon 24-hour set of webinars focused on teaching and learning with Texthelp tools. And these webinars range across 24 hours, lots of different topics and lots of different subject areas. We're focusing on Texthelp tools only over this period of time. So whether you're new to the products, whether you want to integrate further, or whether you want to expand use by yourself or with your pupils and students, these are here to help. We're using GoToWebinar today, and GoToWebinar has a little question panel. So if any questions come up as we run through the presentation today, just type your question in the questions panel, and hopefully I'll get to that at the end of the session today. So again, you're very welcome. This is a truly international affair, and today we're going to be focusing on getting the most from Google Classroom and Texthelp with me, Patrick McGrath. Now, one thing you'll notice on the screen there's many flags on the screen, but as you can probably tell from the accent, I am from good old Northern Ireland, the island of Ireland, and so the best flag I could come up with here is the one that represents our rugby team, which is the Shamrock, and given St Patrick's Day is only a couple of weeks out from today, I thought that was very appropriate. So I'm Patrick, I am EdTech strategist here at Texthelp, and my job really is to help educators and institutions around the world with incorporating not only Texthelp tools but EdTech in general into their teaching and learning strategies. So I'm very focused on ensuring that whatever we do within our products and however we explain it on these webinars and our presentations, that it's always focused, excuse me, on teaching and learning. If you want to contact me after today, it's edtech@texthelp.com. Will get right to me, or give me a follow on Twitter. I'd really appreciate it at th_Patrick M. And if you're ever stuck for what I look like, that is the closest representation of me. That's better than an actual photograph. I kid you not. I'm better looking in real life, of course, but that's the closest we'll get today. I'm actually coming to you today truly internationally. We've had these webinars stretch from Brisbane, Sydney, across the UK, and through to our offices in Massachusetts, and so we've split between the three offices. I am right in the middle right now. I'm traveling with work, where I'm coming to you live from sunny Dubai, so halfway between, I guess, Australia and our UK offices at this point. So genuinely a truly international affair. So as I said earlier, we're going to focus on Google Classroom, and particularly how Texthelp tools can integrate. Of course, Google Classroom over the last couple of years has been a big hit in our classrooms, whether you're a Google school and use the full Google G Suite set of products for teaching and learning within your classrooms, or in fact you're using Google Classroom for its wonderful ability to manage assignments and projects. It really has been embraced as a really easy to use platform for teachers and for students, and really flexible in its approach. And what it's done, I think, for all of us is created the missing piece when it comes to using technology, that piece that allows us to easily assign projects out and individual assignments out to our students, to create discussion, to create a nice tight workflow back whenever assessment and assignment piece need to be submitted, and then also to build on top of that an ability to grade and to mark content and collate all of that information in what is now called the Google Gradebook. So it's a wonderful tool. It's been well adopted, and I think sometimes people are familiar with our tools but aren't totally aware exactly how we fit. So just a quick recap, I suppose, on our tools and where we might fit here. So Texthelp PDF Reader is what we are going to spend a little bit of time on today. So PDF Reader, part of your Read and Write subscription, will allow you to get accessible and actionable PDFs. Equatio, the blue on the right hand side there, that's our digital maths tool, and we'll be exploring each of these as we go through today. Reiki, the gray icon just at the bottom there, that's our writing assessment and tracking tool. How do we mark and grade writing, and how do we motivate students within that? And then last and certainly not least, 25 million users love it around the world, Read and Write, our Google extension. So our Google extension that supports literacy and language development across reading, writing, and comprehension, and a range of supports. So that's just to bring you kind of up to speed with our core products and what you may well be using some or all of those. some of which you may have heard of and haven't have tried, but I hope by the end of today you'll understand how they can fit in your classroom workflow and how they can really benefit you and your students. So when it comes to integrating into Classroom, so there's a couple of areas that we kind of focus on. So in all of the tools, in fact, in 5 tools in total that we're going to go through today, we ensure that there is classroom support where it matters. So for example, with our PDF reader, we can allow you to open PDFs directly in Classroom, so direct from an assignment, to create an annotated PDF and to share that out. We allow creation of advanced maths assignments in Equatio, and the automated sharing of really high quality maths resources, because we can generate and share through Classroom directly from Equatio. In Reiki, we offer automated marking right in the classroom window, detailed feedback, and read and write, of course, for all of the powerful tools, whether it's the discussion elements or it's the assignment elements or the posting elements of Classroom. We provide full support tools within there, because we ensure that read and write supports every single area, including just the standard text fields that are in the assignments window. And of course, read and write with some of the tools that we'll look at will expand the ability to mark and provide comments and voice notes and things within that Google Classroom environment. So we really have taken on board Google Classroom within the Google ecosystem, and we ensure that all of the products are tightly tied into those in the place that matters. And so as we go through our integration, we'll be expanding out with these 5 products that are on screen. And so some of them, like Fluency Tutor at the bottom, a great Google tool to help students build their oral fluency, has simple things like classroom management and assignment support built in. So we'll be go through all of these as we talk through today. So if we think about the specifics of each of those areas, so read and write, literacy and language support directly in assignments, okay? So directly in assignments and all of the classroom windows, we can give the support that we give elsewhere. Reiki, integrated assessment of writing. How do we provide automated assessment back within the defined classroom workflow? PDF, how do we create resources? How do we share those resources? How do we get PDF worksheets completed by a student, returned to us through Google Classroom, and how do we then use the annotation tools to mark? For Fluency Tutor, classroom and student management, simple way to build classes from the sets that we've already defined in Google Classroom. And last on our list there is, of course, Equatio for Maths. So that within Google Classroom is about maths resource creation. It's also about providing students with the ability to put rich maths feedback on top of a PDF resources that you may, or PDF resource you may have created. But also it allows us a full canvas to produce a maths resource and share that with just a couple of button clicks to our classes as an assignment or in any other way that Classroom allows, right from the Equatio window. So there's lots and lots we can do. So there's a huge range, and for some of the products we'll tie into things like Gradebook and stuff there as well. So we'll use Gradebook, we'll use the classroom window, we'll use the workflow, we'll use classroom management in general for our students within each and every one of these products. So what I thought would be useful, so just to give you a flavor of these, we'll go through some very fast animated GIFs. So you'll see this is not me pressing the buttons. These are things, there's things that I've recorded earlier. So we're just going to go through 4 or 5 of those just to give you a feel for exactly how these integrate in the classroom. And then what we'll do is jump right out of the presentation and we'll go through each of these tools in turn. We'll show you what it can do, and we'll show you what settings you might need to toggle on or what authentication you might need to give to each of the products just to enable all of this wonderful integration. So the first one on the list is very simple, and it's read and write. So here's a simple writing assignment, and this is a student completing this. So when a student is actually completing within the assignment window, they have access to all of the rich tools, and we'll have a close look at those in a second, that read and write has to offer. So if a student wants to benefit from prediction tools, if they want to benefit from text to speech in order to play back and re-listen to their content, they have access to all of those tools. So no student is at a disadvantage anymore from an accessibility perspective. when they're in this classroom window. They have access to all the tools they would have if we're sharing to desktop. Previously, if a school was using Read and Write, they would have to use it within the traditional docs window or within the web window. Not anymore. Everything is completed directly within the assignment window. And that also applies to things like discussion threads. So those discussion threads that we might involve our students in, are those open-ended questions that we might pop out, are available on the Read and Write toolbar. Fluency Tutor we looked at. So Fluency Tutor can have simple classroom management, and again we'll see how to set this up in a second. So all we need to do is to be able to build our classroom roster directly within the Fluency Tutor. We can simply click a single button. It'll automatically import all of our student classes based on the ones we want to add. So we may want to add lower grade buttons within there. It'll update our classroom rosters. It'll automatically add students in, and of course then because we've done that, we can give Fluency Tutor the ability to send out assignments. And again, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that as we go through each of the products today. PDF, so this will allow us optionally or as default to simply open a PDF directly. So we can open a PDF directly. So this is opening as standard outside of the classroom window at this stage. Now what it allows us to do is apply annotations. So we can apply annotations, we can put markups, we can put voice notes and comments. And what it does is embed all of those directly into the document. And by simply pressing the Share to Classroom button, we can select our class straight away. We can choose the action that we want to do. Do we want to just ask a question, create some standard material, make an announcement, or build this as an assignment? And we can push that directly out to the class, and we can create that in exactly the same way. So our workflow is much faster. We've opened a PDF, we annotate it and mark it up, and we can share it directly to Classroom. And all it takes is just a couple of clicks to enable that within your current Texthelp PDF reader. So beyond that, if we want to create an individual assignment, we can create an assignment and we can ask for a student to perhaps return a PDF back to us. So we've sent this PDF out, in this case a maths PDF. The PDF will open directly within the classroom window. We still have access to all of the Read and Write support tools, but what we now have are some additional tools. So we have the ability to annotate directly over individual areas. So we can change our pen color. We can add a push pin, so we can add an additional comment to expand on some area that perhaps we have marked up or down on the student piece of work. And what happens is when we pop up to the return button after we have given it a grade and we return that, the student of course is going to get this PDF back with all the annotations, with all of the notes, with all of the recordings. So we've given students super rich feedback from a simple PDF, and that's all within the Google Classroom window. So everything is integrated. No more pop-out screens, no more additional tools to use. When Read and Write's installed and the PDF reader's installed, we have full access to that within the Classroom window. So then our big thing at the moment, Reiki. So in Reiki here, I have posted out a writing assignment. My class has returned an individual piece of writing. I can open that directly in the standard flow of my classroom assignments because I can see what's been handed in. I open up the Reiki window. I can select my grade. It's automatically checked my spelling, punctuation, and grammar. I have access to my rubric, which is entirely built in, slightly different than the Google rubrics that are there. I can still use check marks. I can still use comment banks. I can still use all of those things. But the important thing is that Reiki is working directly within the Google Classroom window. We don't have to leave the classroom environment, so it makes things very, very fast. I'll show you this in action. We'll pace through and just show you the difference it makes when we're in classroom. We've inserted the feedback right in. We could change the mark directly on the right hand side based on the Reiki score that's on our, the rubric score on our screen, and we can return that piece directly back to the student, marked, completed, and simply move on to the next piece of returned work that we have in. And last but not least, before we jump to the demos, is Equatio. So we can go to our web version of Equatio and in our assignments place. And at our assignment spot, we can jump directly in and we can create a resource. So when we create a resource, in this case, and I'll redo this whenever we go live, this will allow us to create a resource. And all we want the student to do is work out the volume of the sphere where the diameter is 5. So we're able to easily create that within Equatio, but then we're able to share it. We can create a copy and expect a response for each student, and we can share that out just by hitting Google Classroom. We'll then pop straight in to the familiar user interface. We can pick our class, we can choose our action, create an assignment, announcement, or part of a discussion thread, and we can simply post that out in exactly the same way that we're used to within our Google Classroom window. And remember, a student can return that after we assign it. We again open it up in MathSpace, we can score it, we can annotate it from a mathematical perspective, and we can return it directly back to the student. It's a wonderful way to tighten up that workflow. So let's take a close look at some of these. So let's go hands-on for this next part. So I'm just going to come out of this window and we're going to go into a few things here. So let's just jump into, first of all, let me close that down and let's go to our courses first. So let's go first of all to a standardized document. And I want to show you a couple of things on this standard document. So this is a document where we're not using Google Classroom. This is just a standard Google document. And this Google document, you'll see I have open here. I have access to all of my rich tools here from Read and Write, and I have access to my Reiki toolbar right here. So if we think about how we support students normally within the Docs environment, we give them access to these tools. So here's an assignment piece here. A student has access to play this back, so they can simply play it back within the Read and Write toolbar. They can listen to this played back, and also they can access dictionaries, they can do redrafts, they can access Check It, they can access all the supports that they need. But what happens then is when you're actually directly in Google Classroom. So what happens in Google Classroom? So I'll jump in here. That's straight into my classroom front page. I can go into my Reiki sample class here. So this is the class where I've posted multiple assignments. Okay, so in here, I'll go to this first assignment, and then I can see all my students that have yet to hand in their documents, whose piece has perhaps moved. And I'm going to just jump directly into Laura's piece here. And what happens is that we now have Read and Write available to us directly within this screen. So the Read and Write toolbar will pop up and be available right in the document window, which means that all of those support tools that we had before are available to us within this window. So what we've done in an assignment, we've now created a very straightforward way for our students to have access to all of those wonderful support tools. And what we're actually loading up right now is just the Reiki toolbar as well. So what happens is it's now telling me in Google and in my assignment that I have Read and Write available to me. So I can open up Read and Write, and I now have access to all of these wonderful tools. So as an example, as a pupil, I have access to Screen Mask, my word prediction, all of these areas that can help me complete an assignment. But if the shoe was on the other foot and I was a teacher in this regard, I can start to use things like my highlight tools here as well. And those highlight tools are going to give me the capability to jump in and to mark up particular areas. So if I were to perhaps place highlighters directly on here, okay, so I can place highlight tools on here, it's going to add the comment directly, and if I return that to my pupil, the pupil has both my highlight and my comment directly there as well. So it's a really good way to integrate all of those tools directly into the Google Classroom assignments environment. And what happens is if I go back and if I just jump back here, directly here, I can have access to Google Classroom if I want to create an assignment. So to create an assignment right here, so I can go down, and if I want to create a brand new assignment, or I want to simply add a class comment, I can use my Read and Write tools directly in there, so they're fully supported. So things like prediction. So we help students in every area. So that's how Read and Write starts to look within a classroom environment. So I'm going to go back here, okay, and I'm going to go back to my sample class. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at something slightly different within this, because we're going to say, right, well, let's have a look now at how things might be marked within that, okay? So I'm going to look at a traditional workflow. So let's go to our traditional workflow. Here's our traditional workflow. We have shared a task out with our students. We have asked our students to reply back with an individual piece of writing. And now what we want to do is to be able to mark that. So our Reiki tool is fabulous for that. So right now, our Google Docs window, think of the workflow. We create, the piece arrives into us. We have to now open it in Google Docs. Then we have to mark it. And then we have to figure out how exactly we add the check mark. Sorry, we add the rubric score or the mark scheme score to that, and then how we return the comments back to the student. So a traditional workflow looks like this. We've popped out the document directly into our doc screen. We've opened up Reiki, and if we just go through Reiki, I'll go back to the original scoring screen here on Reiki. And what Reiki is going to do is, Reiki at this stage is going to analyze this document. It's going to assess my spelling, my punctuation, my grammar, and give me an overall accuracy score. So there's my accuracy score in, 98%. There are my spelling, my grammar, and my punctuation points within that. It's now highlighted each of those throughout the document, so I know exactly where the student is going wrong. It's given me my word count, very useful because I asked for a 1500 word piece on Of Mice and Men and the relationship between George and Lenny. It's given me as a teacher an approximate vocabulary age and the time on task. Now, this is not a genius pupil who has managed to type 1500 words in 9 minutes. This is because before today I just pasted this in, so that's why it says 9 minutes. Now what I can do is, I know that this student is grade 11, and I also know that I have a predefined rubric or mark scheme already set up. So I can say, well, I know this is a GCSE piece, and that's going to preload that rubric. So if I just jump into the rubric, now what I have access to is the two areas of the rubric that I have been asked by my exam body to score on. So here I've got content, structure, and organization. Well, what rating do I want to apply to these areas? Well, let's look at a 2. What's a 2? Some awareness of purpose and format, some awareness of reader and audience. And remember, these were supplied by my exam body or perhaps my school or institution. But I think actually this particular piece is excellent. So I'm going to give it a 5 because it maps into my mark scheme here. And then for written accuracy and vocabulary, 98%, I'm going to give that a 4. It's just shy of a perfect piece of writing. And then I'm going to hit continue. I'm going to say, great work. Watch those made up words, of which there are a few in this document. It's providing all of this rich feedback. It's providing a score. This was scored out of 20. I've given it a 19, and it showed the student now exactly how they're progressing. What happens is that I now hit save. Okay, so that document is now scored. Now that's me outside of Google Classroom. So let's take a simple way that we would integrate this in Google Classroom that starts to make the ease of use of marking pieces of work even easier and even more integrated. So I'm going to go back to my sample class. I'm going to post directly out a new assignment here, which I've already done some time ago. So as a teacher, I'm just going to jump into this. Again, I can see all of these pieces directly here that have been returned or are now missing. Perhaps they've been moved in the attachment, or they have been indeed marked, as I can see. So the standard workflow that I can see within Google Classroom. I'm going to go directly down to Laura because Laura's piece here has not been marked. It's simply handed in at this stage. So I'm going to open it, and remember, what's it going to do? It's going to open this directly within the Google Classroom window. So I can go through this document now. The Reiki window, you'll see, it's just opening on the right hand side here. The second that I've opened that piece, it started to analyze spelling, punctuation, and grammar on the document. That's all within the window. We haven't had to leave it. Think about the speed of this for workflow. We're straight into the assignment window. We can open the assignment through our standard workflow, and we can start to mark this directly here. So I've marked this one before, but right now I have access to exactly the same tools that I had in the original environment. There's my English language tool, 96%, 5, 1 and 2. There's my word count. Vocabulary age is a bit younger. Time on task was 19 minutes to write this piece. I've pressed continue to rubric. I've went through the same mark scheme here, so I'm marking that as a 2. It's not quite as good as the previous piece. This one is a 3, and I'll press continue. So I'll type some not very politically correct feedback. Okay, so I'll correct this. It's given me the performance of the score. Remember how quickly it's managed to do this, and it's given all of this wonderful feedback. And what I could do here is just press save. Okay, so I've saved it. It's been scored, and now I can press insert. So I'm literally only about 6 clicks in from marking a full piece of English writing here. What it's doing now is taking all of the feedback. It's adding it into the Google document. So right here, and now what I can do is very simply, I can take that score. So it's 9 out of 20 in this case, and I can put the score directly in here. Okay, so there's my 9. So that's going to get fed back directly to Laura. And if I wanted to feed it back, I also have access to the return button here. And once I return, I can very simply move on to the next piece of work that's directly here. So I'm straight on to Laura's. What happens is Reiki is going to open again on the far right hand side. It's going to start straight away to analyze my spelling, punctuation and grammar, and it's going to let me go through the exact same process. So it gives me a really fabulous way to mark and assess work really fast. So Laura's is currently going through the accuracy field. If I jump into my grade 11, as I did before, because I want to mark against the same rubric, I have access to that, and Laura's accuracy there is 97% with no punctuation mistakes within that whatsoever. So that's a really fast way to incorporate Reiki marking, advanced marking for writing, directly into the window. But if you think back to where we started, we also said that we can incorporate read and write directly in here. So with read and write, we can supplement this wonderful automated scoring directly within Reiki, and we can access these additional tools. So for example, if I wanted to comment on the piece, I could add a voice note. Laura, that was a wonderful piece. Your accuracy was brilliant. Your turn of phrase was superb, and I'm very happy with your progress at this stage. Okay, so I can then insert that directly into the feedback piece. So because I have access to this within the Google Classroom window, once I jump over here and I hit the return button in my standard classroom workflow to Laura, she now has that directly back as a returned piece in her Google Classroom window, complete with playback note that was there. So I can use all of these features. So voice notes, I can use highlighters, I can use standard comments, and if I'm marking as a teacher, I also have access to things like my talk and type, so I could dictate some feedback directly into that document if I wanted. So we've now seen that these tools can start to increase our productivity, can start to really aid our workflow because they're embedded directly into the Google Classroom window. So jumping out, I'm just going to jump straight back into this just so I can get to the dashboard. So outside of the classroom environment, one of the ways that something like Reiki and a lot of our products in common will do this, will allow us to do is sync directly with Google Classroom. Okay, so this means that when we need to set up our classes and track our individual signups, so I'm just going to jump straight in here. Okay. And one thing you notice with some of these new setups and integrations to Classroom, as you add them, you might have to authenticate again and just confirm that you have a Google Classroom account. So very easily for me, because this has been linked to my Google Classroom account already, and you can see there's my Equatio class and my Reiki sample class that we just looked at right here. This has tracked all of the scores and the progress of those scores as well. I can just import a new classroom. Okay, it's going to ask me if I haven't authenticated before, just to re-authenticate with Google so it can connect to my Google Classroom account. And I can say, actually, I want all of these other classes in my Reiki window so I can use these. So this means now I've added them. When I create assignments, I can directly view these within Google Classroom. So Google Classroom integration, that's all I've got to do. Install the Reiki extension and add this to the dashboard, and that dashboard will appear through this very simple button that you see here just on top of your Reiki window when you install it as a teacher. So I just click go to dashboard, I'm straight in the dashboard. I need to add classes once, and now I have access to all of my class views directly in here, and I can see access to how each of my students are actually progressing. So it's a great way to analyze data and also to keep our classroom management simple. We don't have to manually add or remove students as we go. So that's the Reiki dashboard and Reiki integration. So let's just jump into something else here, okay? So we're going to jump right here. I'm going to jump directly into this little window. Okay, so this window here, I'm going to look at PDF Reader. So here is a simple Drive folder. This is my Drive folder full of some PDFs that I would use when I'm working with educators just as a demo document. So I have one here, and I'm just going to click this and open it. And what you'll see now when I do this, it's going to open in the standard way that you used to in Google Drive environment. Interesting thing here is I have Texthelp PDF Reader, part of the Read and Write family installed. So I want to do more with this document. So I can open this document by just popping down to open it and Read and Write with Google Chrome. Now I have a couple of ways, and I'll show you in a second, that I can set that. So I can set all my students to open all of their PDFs by default within this, or I can set it that I let the students have a choice, or I can set it as my default web reader. So I can ensure that when students open PDFs on a website, that they have access to that through PDF Reader. But the great thing about this is this allows me to repurpose some content. So I now have this PDF. I have access to things that I never had before. Okay, so I have access to simple things like annotation. So I can, at this stage, start to annotate directly on top of my document. Okay, so I can annotate this. Now I'm not showing you anything useful at this point in time, but I can do this. I can use my typewriter so I can type additional content. So here, for example, I've typed space person, so I've typed that directly on. I can have things like a push pin. So right here, International Space Station, check Wikipedia for more information and add the link. Okay, so I can add that. I could have dictated that. I can change the font size, the color, and all of those things. I can even have that read out loud so I can listen to that. And once I've finished, I can add it on. And this becomes a little push pin. So when a student gets this content, a student can just click the push pin and they get access to all of that. I can also add comments. And if I add comments, I can add comments right here with a range of different tools. So I can add comments via prediction. I can add comments in any other way. So this allows me to take a resource and create it. I can also create rich maths in this, because what I could do at this stage is I could actually open Equatio, and Equatio will let me write right on top of that. Okay, so if I go down and I say, right, let's see here. So if I wanted to simply type something, and I can go to my equation editor and I could say gravitational acceleration. Okay, so there's some that might be relevant to my particular space theme here at this point. Oh, sorry guys. So gravitational acceleration, so that is something that I haven't needed to type, but perhaps it's relevant to this particular topic. I can simply press insert maths. Okay, and once I insert maths, that has been placed directly on my screen. Oh, it should have placed directly on my screen. I just can't see it right at this point. But that will allow me to type maths directly on top of any document here right now. So that gives me the capability to type maths directly on top of PDF formats. Now, one of the extra buttons you'll notice, so outside of all the support tools that are here, again, these are then available directly within Google Classroom, which I'll show you in a minute. I have the ability to share this with Classroom. Now, I've had to enable this. How do I enable it? Well, if I just go to the three dots on the right hand side, go to options. Sorry, go up to my PDF reader, and I'm going to go to options right here. Okay, so options right here will give me the capability to check all of the options that I might need for my PDF tool with classroom integration. All I need to do is tick that, enable classroom integration. That means that I have the classroom button that you saw there just in the top right hand side. Open classroom PDFs directly, meaning whenever PDFs appear in classroom, I want to open them within this reader so I can get access to all the annotation tools and the annotations. Or I can also click on open web PDF so my students have access to this as a default reader and writer. So you'll see there that I've set the two key things I need to enable classroom integration. So let's just go directly back to this particular piece. So now I know I have classroom integration right here. I'm going to go directly up because I've decided that this PDF, I have now enriched this. I know it doesn't look very enriched when we look at the screen, but I've used the tools. I have highlighted certain areas. I provided comments or push pins or highlights or additional drawings, or I've asked them to complete a diagram directly within this. I can share this out through Classroom. So right now, when I press that button, I can simply share to Classroom. I'll choose my class. So right here, I'm going to go right down to Read and Write PDF. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to simply ask a question, okay? And I'm going to hit go. And what that's going to do is jump right in here. What would life be like in space? Okay, so all I've done here is given them background reading, highlighted some certain things, and I'll give them a short answer. So they have instructions, they have all of the areas, I can set my due date, all the things I do when I create an assignment, or in this case ask a question on Google. So I'm just going to press ask. What that's doing now is posting that PDF directly out as part of a resource, attached that and added that as a open-ended question to my class. So I could have used that as an assignment that I want to mark. I could have used that as a maths worksheet, for example. So once I have been able to enrich a PDF, I've been able to share it as any of the standard ways I can share within Classroom. I can now jump directly back in here. So I'm going to go directly into my main Google Classroom window, and I now have access to this class. Okay, so this is my test PDF class. So let's assume in this instance that what I've done here, so there's the document that I've just sent out. I'm just going to pop directly here to a previous assignment that I sent out, and what I happened to do was create this assignment based on completing a maths worksheet. So again, I opened the PDF within PDF Reader, I created the annotations with the Equatio, and now what I can do is I can open the piece that has been returned directly to me. And what's happened here is my standard Classroom window is opened, but the PDF is opened directly within the Classroom window. So this now gives me the capability to review this feedback that came back from Carrie-Anne. And what I'm able to do here is very simply, so for example, I can pick up my freehand tool, I can pick up my red pen or any other pen, I can annotate this area, I could mark it if I wanted. I could give it a score. So in this case, I'll give it a typewriter score. So I'll give it a score of 4 because she hasn't really shown me the working out here at all. So I'll give it that score. I now have the capability to go up, total up that mark and give that mark on the right hand side as I would through my workflow, and I can jump directly on to the next student and complete that again. And of course, again, what happens in workflow assignment is this doc, when I press return, all of these annotations go right on top of that document, and that document will be shared directly back out as the return piece through Google Classroom to the student. So again, I've created a workflow environment where I can create a resource, I can enhance the resource, I can share the resource through Google Classroom in any way that I see fit. I can receive it back, I can mark it, I can return it, all without using anything outside of Google Classroom and just using the tools from our very own Texthelp family of products. So it's a really, really good way to enrich PDFs and also make that workflow an awful lot faster. So PDF Reader can do lots and lots of things, and that's just 2 examples of that. I'm going to jump into one very quick one here, which is just into Fluency Tutor. So we've had a look at read and write. So we've had a look at how we might support students when they're writing assignments or completing questions. We've had a look at Reiki, how we could automatically mark. We've had a look now at PDF Reader. And that PDF Reader and Writer will allow us to annotate, assign, and mark as well. So let's look at another tool here, which is Fluency Tutor. So Fluency Tutor has, again, inbuilt integration into assignments directly within Google Classroom. So Fluency Tutor, if you've never seen it, is a wonderful way to create an assignment which is designed to help students practice reading aloud. So we select a passage, we ask the pupils to record themselves reading that passage and ask them to send it back to us, where we can then mark it and grade it and score it. And we can automatically calculate the average words per minute as they're reading. But right now, I have manually just added students into this, and I've done it the old-fashioned way. I've asked them just to complete an old-fashioned class code. They have to do this separate to any other environment I have. So I might want to just go, you know what? I want to use Google Classroom. So we have a single button down the bottom, and all we need to do to enable Google Classroom is click that button right at the bottom of our students window. And when we click that, that's automatically going to link to my Google Classroom account, and it's going to import all of my classes there. It's going to let me select which classes I want to add, or perhaps I just simply want to add all of them. It's going to update my class rosters, so I just do that manually. It's going to do that, and what it's going to do here is then give me access to all of those classes directly here on screen. What I can do, because I have classes, right? So this class hasn't been very active yet. That was just that document you just saw. But I can start to compare them with a different set of classes here, okay? So I can compare them with my Reiki sample class, I can compare them with my Equatio EDU class, and I can see the actual progress of my individual class. And I can update directly from Classroom there just by pressing one button. So I'm going to be able to view classes side by side, set rosters, and add assignments directly to classes. So let's see how we would do that. So assessments, and we want to create a new piece, okay? So right now we're going to go down to share a passage. The share a passage at this stage lets me choose from any of all of these wonderful inbuilt passages that are there, or I could add my own, but I'll just pick a simple one here, the history of Pompeii, a buried city. So I want to use this as a passage that I send to my students. So very easily, I'm going to click this, and this is going to give me some imagery and some text. I could build in the standard comprehension questions that are here, and I can have those added. But all I actually want to do here is be able to go over here to create an assignment automatically by selecting my sample class. I'm going to go to my sample class right here. I'll select my students, and I'll select all. So I can select my students, because perhaps this is a targeted reading intervention here, and all I need to do is create assignment. And my assignment now will be automatically created. I've created the Google Drive file automatically in the background. I have notified the students, and I have assigned that directly to the students. I've automatically created my entire assignment just by picking the passage in my share passage, and by sharing with Google Classroom integration. It's taken one button to get there as we go. So that's the integration with Fluency Tutor. So again, we can tighten up workflow, we can make classroom management easier, we can automatically create assignments in just one click, and create some brilliant assignments there for improving reading fluency. And we have a full marking workflow built in there right away. So we're going to jump on now to our last tool of the day, which is the very wonderful Equatio. Equatio is designed, of course, to help us get maths digital. And what happens is we want to use Equatio from the web. So rather than using the extension that we saw earlier, what we want to do from a classroom integration perspective, we just want to go to what is Equatio dashboard. So we just go to equatio.texthelp.com. We're going to go directly into equatio.texthelp.com. I'm already signed into this, so it's going to load out any content that I've had, any assignments that I've created in the past, and it's going to let me see those directly on screen. Now, what I can do is create a brand new assignment. So I'm going to create a brand new assignment based on the sphere example that I showed you earlier. So new space, okay? And all it's going to do right here, and I haven't had to sync with Google Classroom, I haven't had to create anything at all or link Equatio in. The integration is already there. So I'm going to use the simple tools that are here. So I'm going to draw my sphere. So let's find my sphere, okay? And I will go here. So let's draw my sphere. And now we want to, perhaps we will freehand this. So we'll draw the diameter right here. Perhaps we will freehand this again. And we will let them know that in this case, D equals 5 centimeters. And then we want to type some text. So this is me creating a resource and an assignment, a rich maths assignment and equation. And I'll say, calculate the volume. Oh, using, okay, and I will now come out of that because what I want to use is the prediction tool directly in here. So I have volume of A. So I'm actually going to give them the formula for this. I'm just going to insert that maths, and I'm going to have that directly within this document now, okay? So I now have access to this resource. Very simple, very quick, and remember the Equatio, I've got literally hundreds and hundreds of different shapes and things that I can pop in here. So you can have anything from electricity to gates to mirrors, cuboids, number lines, fractions, pulleys, any subject area that involves maths, I have access to that right here. But what I want to do is I've created this as a task, and all I want to do is share this out. So I simply press the share button, top right hand side. I'm going to say I want to make a copy for each person, okay? Or what I could do is make a copy for each person and expect a response, which is what I'm going to do here. Because I've asked them to complete a task, I then simply hit continue. It's generating my link, and all I have to do for Google Classroom is now share it via Google Classroom with this button. So this share is directly here right now. It's built in. I pick my class, so I'm going to pick my Equatio class right here, but I'm going to create this as a assignment. Okay, so as I create it as an assignment, we jump back into the super familiar Google window, and I'm going to not be very nice to my class, and I'm going to demand that they work this out. I can add my instructions. Here is a link to my Google Math space that you're going to get. I'm going to say that actually this is only worth 10 points. So all of these things that I can do directly within Google Classroom, I can do here. I want this done by tomorrow, and I'm simply going to assign that. Or of course I could save that as a draft and do that. So what that's done is that's allowed me now to create this very basic resource, and I could go as advanced as I want. I could put as many manipulatives or questions in as I want, and I can then share that directly out with Google Classroom through the familiar interface. And now what happens? Students will get notified with this. So if I jump back into, say, my Google Classroom window, so go to Google Classroom, and I will jump into the classroom that I just posted this on. So you'll see that there's what's due. So there's the assignment I just put, due Thursday, work this out. So I'll pop this here. I want to have a look at this, and I'll see that actually nobody at this stage has returned my piece. I'll jump into my instructions. Now I have a direct link in the math space. What I can do is complete that math space link, and I'll be able to get access to all of that through equatio.texthelp.com. Again, I can mark it, I can return it, I can use the standard workflow that has been created for each individual student through Google Classroom. So it's a really easy way. If you're a maths teacher, physics, science teacher, chemistry teacher, it's a wonderful way to integrate Google Classroom into maths workflows. So We're going to start to wrap up here today, and just sort of remind you guys what we've been through. We've been through lots and lots and lots of things there. So we've seen how we can use all of the tools there, certainly to create assignments. We've seen how we can use Read and Write to offer support within assignments, Reiki to automatically mark directly within the classroom window and integrate within the workflow to provide some detailed reporting back to the student. We've seen with PDF Reader how we can create new PDF content and annotate and share that as an assignment directly out to the student. But more so, we can have the student use that tool to complete worksheets and assignments or annotations or research and return that to us through Google Classroom so we can assess it or provide feedback on. Fluency Tutor, great way for practice reading aloud, send out assignments automatically and very easily that are pre-made, but also to manage our classrooms. And of course, last and definitely not least, Equatio right there, right now, that we just saw to show us how to create some wonderfully rich maths resources. Share that and have that returned directly within the Google Classroom window. Um, so that is the sort of the whistle stop tour in just under an hour of how our products are integrated as tightly as we possibly can within Google Classroom. We're committed to Google Classroom. We know it's an essential part of your workflow and of how students are using tech tools. We feel it's the glue that brings a lot of tools together and makes their use a whole lot easier and a whole lot more practical in classrooms. So we'll continue to do so. We've got lots of ways we can support you with the tools and with Google Classroom. So there's training, certification, pupil skills. We have our webinars like you have today, activities and guides, of course, tech support, and access to our YouTube channel. And in the next week or so, we'll be popping up just a 10-minute refresher guide on Google Classroom integration. If you can't wait till then, email me after today and we will give you access to one of our 10 ways documents. Our 10 ways documents are designed to be quick reads. They are one pagers and they're designed to just share with you 10 ways how we can best integrate Google Classroom with Texthelp tools. So by all means, reach out. You can reach me after today at edtech@texthelp.com and on Twitter at th_PatrickM. I will be more than happy to help. I do hope you found that useful today. I'm going to have a look at the Q&As and I'm going to email out the answers to any of you on the group after this session. But if you want to reach out to me on anything specific you've seen or any help you've seen, please do help. And I just want to mention just one last thing, just jumping back to this slide. We looked a lot at PDF Reader right here. Remember, that's included if you're a current Read and Write customer, that is fully included in your license. So you can get access to that straight away. And our other tools, Reiki, Equatio, and Fluency Tutor. If you're not using those, please feel free to drop me a line and we'll arrange to put you in touch with somebody that can get you trials and demos out of each of those product areas. So it really just remains with me to say thank you very, very much for your hour today. I have no idea what time it is where you are. It is approaching 7 o'clock for me here in Dubai. I know we now have, I think, another 14 hours to go on our Festival of Learning. So I want to thank you for taking part and being part of that. This broadcast and all of the other webinars will be available online after the 24-hour period has been completed, and you'll have free and ready access to those. So again, reach out anytime, edtech@texthelp.com, th_PatrickM, and I'll be more than happy to help with any questions you may have about anything you saw or indeed anything else in the Texthelp product family. So wherever you are, whatever time it is, good afternoon, good day, or good night, and thank you for joining us today.